Hello. Okay, so I want to share with you how to do this number bonds assignment. There are two different assignments. This first one I'm going to show you is the standard edition. And then if you find that you've gotten through half of this and you're like, Mrs. Smith, this is way too easy, then there's also a challenge edition. You could also do both, or you could start with the challenge, and if you get a few questions through that one and you're like, Mrs. Smith, I need to go back, then it's okay to go back. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you how I would complete both types of assignments. So what I've done here is I've highlighted my circles so that I can type in there. I made them into text boxes. And I want to show you how you could solve this. So when it comes to these first ones, what we're doing is we want to view this as a number sentence. So I want you to imagine that this is yellow plus blue equals green. And if you think about it, yellow and blue mixed together makes green. So for each one of these number bonds, you have two addends that equal a sum. Two numbers that we're adding together to get a sum. So there's only one way to make one. So we can take 0 and 1. Okay, so that one's pretty simple. So now we need to find out how to make a sum of 2. Now, there are technically two ways to make the sum of 2. That's why there's only two examples here, 1, 2. Now, you'll notice that my screen seems so much bigger. That's because when I copied the image, it was really small. So I zoomed in to make it bigger, but yours is going to look a little different. If you wish to color in your circles for your addends, you certainly can. You do not have to. It's just how I wanted to highlight for you. So now we're going to find out how to make 2. So one way to make 2 is to also use a 0 and then a 2. Good. And then let's do, if we want to make 2, what's the other way? We could do 1 and 1. All right. So what happens if we get all the way down here and we're trying to make 7, which you can see right here. And I'm going to take my little dot with me down to 7. All right, and now I'm like, I am stumped. I can't use 0, I can't use 1. Where do I start? Well, first let me get this all set up. Okay, and this guy needs to be blue. And then we'll get a big guy. This guy needs to be green, and we'll put him down here. You can see that it's not so easy using my computer, but we're making it happen. And I know that this has to equal 7. Okay, so I can't use 0, and I can't use 1, and now I'm kind of stumped. So over here on the right side of my screen, you'll see that I have my die. And so I'm using the Roll-A-Die from Google. You can use a regular die, it doesn't have to be. I'm using the 6-sided one because it needs to be less than 7, because if I rolled an 8, you can't use 8 to make 7, because 8 is greater than, right? The shark would eat the 8. So that doesn't work. So I can only use a 6-sided die. And what I can do is I can roll the die, and it gives me an idea. Well, what if I start with 5? How many more till I get to 7? 5, 6, 7. That's right, 2 more. So here it's going to give me different ideas. And if I roll again, now it's telling me to start with a 1. Well, what if I've already done that? Then I roll again. Now it's telling me to start with a 4. Perfect. Remember, if you truly get stumped, and I'd rather you do different ways each time, there's the tricky way too, where you can take the two numbers, and if you remember, you can reverse them, because when you're adding, it doesn't matter which direction your addends are in. We can either do 5 plus 2 equals 7, or 2 plus equals 7. Very good. Okay, so let's go to the challenge to see how this one would work. All right, so you can see that I have it set up here. So now what I can do is, if you'd like, and you're using Roll-A-Die, you can certainly use the four-sided die, the six-sided die rather. You can certainly use the eight-sided die or even a 10-sided die because we're at 11. So anything less than 11 will work. And as you get more and more further down on this paper, you'll notice that the numbers get bigger. Now, if you don't want to use the internet and you just want to use your die, that will certainly work as well. And you can also just think in your head, okay, well, if I'm going to start with 1 here, maybe I'll do 2 and then 3 and then 4, and then I just find out what the other addend is. But for the sake of fun, let's take out our 10-sided. Here it is. Okay, and I'm going to roll my 10-sided, and I have a 2. So in this first section, I'm going to make this one a 2. Did you guys notice that this didn't change color? That's not helpful. There we go. And then for my second one, I'm going to roll that die again. This time I got oh, I'm sorry. What is Mrs. Smith doing? Actually, she needs to figure this out first. So if I have 2 and I want to get to 11, I need to add on 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. How many fingers did I need to add? I needed to add 9 more. Now, here's the trick. Parents, if the fingers aren't happening because, you know, they're hurting or sometimes it just doesn't work, kids cannot single out each finger, then using items like crayons or blocks or erasers or money, any of those work. And what you do is you do the same thing. You just use those items instead of your hands. So it might look like this if I were going to take out my crayons. I might say, okay, how many more crayons do I need in order to make 11? If I start with 2, so I put those 2 off to the side, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And so then I would do is you count them out. How many more crayons did I need? I needed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, now of course I did mine up in the air, which is not the best way to do that, but I wanted you to be able to see it with the camera, so I had to hold it up in the air. All right, so let's do the next one. Let's say I needed to find another way to make 11. This time I'm going to roll again. Give me a higher number. Oh, 1. I don't want to play with 1. It keeps giving me 1. Let's keep going until we get a high number. Let's do 10. It gave me 10. Well, how many do I need to add in order to get to 11 from 10? 10, 11. How many more? Just 1. So there we go. And I can use the die to help me think of addends to give me ideas, and then that will help me complete the rest of the paper. All right, so it's up to you guys. The challenge paper, the standard paper, it's all the same learning. It just depends on how you're feeling on this Wednesday, okay? Talk to you soon.